December 1941, Pearl Harbor. In a single morning, the American spirit was shattered. What followed was 4 agonizing months of crushing defeat. The Pacific was a Japanese lake. Morale at home had evaporated. America needed more than a victory. It needed a miracle. It needed a shockwave. The Japanese High Command had promised their people, "The homeland is safe. We are invincible." They were about to be proven catastrophically wrong by a mission so audacious, so suicidal, it was considered technically impossible. This is the story of Lieutenant Colonel James "Jimmy" Doolittle, 16 modified bombers, and the 80 men who risked everything to strike the heart of the enemy and change the course of World War II. To strike Tokyo, Doolittle needed speed, range, and firepower. The Navy offered the USS Hornet, a carrier, but Doolittle was flying the B-25 Mitchell, a heavy twin-engine medium bomber designed to take off from a mile-long land runway. The Hornet's deck offered a mere 467 feet. The planes were stripped bare, extra fuel tanks crammed inside the fuselage, the tail guns replaced with broomsticks painted black to save weight. The crew trained in secret for this one-way trip, knowing there was no turning back. On the morning of April 18th, disaster struck. The task force was spotted by a Japanese patrol boat, still 170 miles short of the planned launch point. They were exposed, their mission compromised. Doolittle made the instant decision that defined the raid: launch immediately. 10 hours ahead of schedule, with insufficient fuel, 16 bombers roared down the pitching deck, one after the other. It was an unparalleled feat of skill and sheer guts. The bombers hit Tokyo, Yokohama, and other cities. The physical damage was minimal, but the psychological impact was immeasurable. Japanese citizens and military leaders had been promised they were safe. Now, American bombs were falling in their streets. The psychological blow was the mission's primary success. Back in the United States, the news provided a jolt of hope, a narrative of American ingenuity and defiance that was desperately needed after Pearl Harbor. But for the 80 airmen, the mission was far from over. Because of the early launch, every single plane ran out of fuel over the dark, storm-swept coast of China. The airmen were forced to bail out or crash land, often deep within Japanese-occupied territory. Of the 80 raiders, 69 men survived, a testament to the courage of the Chinese civilians and soldiers who risked execution to hide and transport them. But the cost was steep. 3 men died attempting to land. 8 airmen were captured by the Japanese. Of those 8, 3 were executed, a barbaric act that defined the inhumanity of the war in the Pacific. Doolittle himself survived, convinced he was a failure because he had lost all his planes. But the effect of his raid was immense. It forced the Japanese military to shift crucial defensive resources back home, a strategic move that would soon prove disastrous for them at the pivotal Battle of Midway. The Doolittle raid did not win the war, but on April 18, 1942, those 80 men didn't just strike Tokyo. They delivered a punch of propaganda, resolve, and hope that saved America's soul, proving to a despairing nation that, against all odds,